All right, good afternoon, everyone. This is Roderick Lewis at UNC Chapel Hill, External Relations Director for University Career Services. And I'm excited today to bring you our final industry panel for the week, which is our Education, Government, and Nonprofit Industry Panel. The goal of this panel is to learn from our professionals who work in these industries and to understand, what are their latest business challenges and what are in-demand skills that they're looking for, their organizations are looking for in university students, and also to provide some tips on virtual interviewing and other career tips to really help students during this fall recruitment season. For my audience members, I want to let you know that you are on mute by default. And so only our panelists are going to be speaking today. However, they will be able to answer some of your questions through the Q&A or chat if they're available to. So please feel free to ask any questions or make any comments through the Q&A or the chat button. This webinar is being recorded. So, if you register for it, you will, have access to view the link, and I also put some instructions in the registration that where the recordings will be, where you can find them after the webinar. But you will be able to access those recordings. We're going to formally close the webinar at 2 o'clock. However, we always do what I call our Zoom webinar after party, and it allows me and the panelists to stay on for about 10 to 15 minutes after the formal close of the webinar to get to some of the questions that we didn't get a chance to answer during the webinar, and to just go a little more in depth on some of the questions as well. So if you're able to stay on longer than 2 o'clock, great. If you're not, then no worries. You can, get the recording and you'll be able to see anything that you missed. As always, most of us are working from our homes or some other location, and that potential for technical difficulties always exists. And so, if any of us go down, myself included, we will do whatever we can to get back online. All the panelists have been instructed to just continue on with the panel discussion. If I go down, and if any of them go down, we will keep it moving as well. However, that hasn't happened yet, so knock on wood. But if it does, just know that we do have our contingency plans in place. So I want to, just really introduce, who we have today, and and just really get started with this discussion. So we have Kenesha Smith Bunyan from the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. We have Toya Hall from Uncommon Schools. We have Catherine Williamson from the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, and we have Tanisha Brisbane from En-ROADS. And I'm going to ask my panelists to please turn on their cameras, and then I'm going to call on each one of them to give an introduction so that you as the audience can know the lens through which they're speaking today. All right, so Tanisha, I'm going to start with you. Would you please introduce yourself and let the audience know who you are and what you do?
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for this opportunity. Again, my name is Tanisha Brisbane, and I am a University Relations Manager at En-ROADS. We are obviously in the nonprofit sector. So as far as my career has gone, most of my career, at least for the last 6 years, has been in talent acquisitions, recruitment, and diversity and inclusion. I also have a background in higher ed as well. So thank you again so much for the opportunity to join your panel discussion today.
You're welcome. Thank you. Next, I'm going to ask Toya Hall from Uncommon Schools to introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. Happy Friday. We made it to the end of the week. My name is Toya Hall, and I am the Senior Associate Director of Recruitment for Uncommon Schools. I'm also a UNC alumni, so go UNC. At Uncommon, I have been in this role for about 2 years, and Uncommon Schools is a network of 55 high-performing public charter schools in the Northeast, New York, New Jersey, and Massachusetts. And we are looking to hire students who are interested in teaching and instruction, as well as students who are interested in social impact and social justice work by working in recruitment, accounting, IT, data analytics, and things of that such. So I'm really excited to speak to you all today and get to know you a little bit better.
Thank you. And next, I'm going to call on Catherine Williamson. Catherine, I believe you may be on mute. There we go.
Good afternoon. My name is Catherine Williamson, and I'm a clinical recruiter with the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services. I'm glad to be here today to talk with you about the career opportunities that we have available in both our divisions and our facilities that are located across the state.
Thank you so much. And finally, I'm going to call on Kenesha Smith-Bunyan.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Roderick, thank you so much for the opportunity. I am Kenesha Smith-Bunyan. I am a campus recruiter with the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, also known as NGA. NGA is makes up one part of the intelligence community. So there are about 17 different IC intelligence community agencies. NGA is one of those. And I am excited to share with you this afternoon information about myself, experiences, and whatever sorts of tidbits or nuggets I could share with you professionally.
Okay, well, thank you. And before I get started, I urge people in the audience to take notes. So you'll see me looking down. It's because I'm taking notes on everything that the panelists say. I learn just as much, as I talk or as I moderate. So I encourage you to do the same. So my first question, let's go ahead and get this, kicked off. And, I really want to help the audience understand what your organizations do, within this space. And so, Toya, I'm going to start off with you. What are those core products and the services that Uncommon Schools is built around?
Yeah, thanks so much, Roderick. So Uncommon Schools, again, 54 high-performing public charter schools in New York, New Jersey, and Massachusetts. We're a K-12 network, and we're looking for people who are interested in teaching, as well as those school-based operational roles. So if you're in business, accounting, marketing, design, we have roles for you. I would say my 3 top services that Uncommon provides is college success for all. So our mission is to make sure that all of our scholars get to and through college. And we actually do a lot around college completion with our scholars once they graduate 12th grade. Second is leading with love. So we really do appreciate our students and our staff for who they are and what they can achieve. So we try to create environments that promote student voice and broad perspectives by building a sense of community. And then the last piece would be sharing our practices with not only our student staff, but also the country. And so our books like Teach Like a Champion, Driven by Data, and our professional development workshops help not only our scholars and our staff members, but help millions of other teachers around the world achieve better outcomes for their students.
Great, thank you so much. And next, I'm going to call on that same question, Catherine. What is the NC Health and Human Services Department? What are those, services? What is it built around?
I'll be glad to talk about that. With THHS, we are providing essential services to improve the health, safety, and well-being of North Carolinians. Another thing that's part of our mission and values are to advance innovative solutions that foster independence, improve health, and promote well-being of all North Carolinians. The department is divided into 30 different divisions, and we also have 14 facilities. Our facilities are divided into 4 different categories. We have developmental centers, we have neuromedical centers, psychiatric hospitals, and we have alcohol and drug abuse treatment centers. And our facilities and our divisions both are located throughout the state of North Carolina, and we have many different career opportunities available for students to consider, anything from nursing and psychiatrists, physicians, to food services, environmental services, administrative positions, human resources positions, and then a lot of other direct care positions are also available. So there are many, many opportunities, and again, they're located throughout the state.
Okay, thank you, excellent. And Tanisha, for Inroads, tell us about Inroads and, what is Inroads built around? What are those products and services it's built around?
Okay. So Inroads is a nonprofit leadership development organization, and we focus on professional development, leadership development, training, coaching, mentoring, and paid internship opportunities for college students. And we also have a high school program as well. I recruit mainly for the collegiate division. And so what's interesting about Inroads is that we focus very heavily on working with the underserved populations. So we work very heavily with students of color and women and all areas of diversity. And one of the things, another thing that I think is really interesting about our organization is that we are a nonprofit organization, but we work a lot with colleges and universities. We recruit internship opportunities in business, in STEM, so a wide variety of opportunities that we offer. Another thing that's very unique about En-ROADS is that we recruit college freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors, of whom are graduating in December 21 and then every graduation date after that. So we do have quite a bit of opportunities for students. Typically each summer we place anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500 students in internship opportunities across the country. So we definitely have opportunities in the Carolinas, but I do know Chapel Hill has a reach of students who are not only Carolinians, you know, they come from other parts of the country as well. So that's another thing that makes us attractive as far as being able to attract students to our program.
Okay, that's excellent. Thank you. And last but not least, Kenesha Smith-Bunyan.
Hi, so NGA, as I mentioned previously, is one of the agencies that makes up the intelligence community. So the mission that we have at NGA is to provide geospatial intelligence to policymakers. So those are going to be the folks in Congress, to national security experts. And then we also have a DoD or Department of Defense mission as well, meaning that we provide that geospatial intelligence to our armed forces to ensure that they're kept out of harm's way. In essence, what geospatial intelligence is anything that's location-based data. So if you have an iPhone or a Samsung phone and you use your Apple Maps or your Google Maps, that information that you receive on that is basically GeoInt or geospatial intelligence. So we provide that just at a higher level, just for national security purposes. Within the agency, we recruit heavily for our summer internship program. We normally are able to bring on about 3,000 to 3,500 students. And we have at this point, we have an 85% conversion rate, meaning that we are able to convert almost 85% of our interns. Once they complete their degree programs, they are eligible to be converted to full-time. So in order to do that, we're heavily invested in trying to increase, as I'm sure a number of organizations are at this moment, trying to increase our diversity numbers. So albeit minorities, be it women, so on and so forth. So I typically am able to come to campus a couple times each semester, but in light of the new era that we're in with COVID, I haven't had that opportunity. So definitely interested in sharing additional details with you about the work that we do at the agency, what sorts of skills or background we look for, and also sharing additional details about the internship opportunity.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And, now my next question, to help the audience, understand more about your organizations and the challenges that you're currently facing. I want to know, in this question, I'm going to start off with Toya. What are the top challenges, business challenges or opportunities that are facing oncoming schools right now, given the backdrop that we're in, right? So let me give a little context, given this year, 2020, not only do you have the pandemic, but you also have, social injustices, and you have a lot of, calls and within organizations. You have the effects, of the economy because of these twin pandemics, as it were. And on top of that, this is a political, election year. So you have all these things that are creating a lot of uncertainty in the market. And how does that, how does this create either challenges or opportunities for incoming schools?
Yeah, thanks so much. So I would say we have had a lot of challenges in this COVID, Black Lives Matter, political setting, environment that we live in currently. I would say one thing that I love about Uncommon is that we put our people first, both our students and our staff. And so I'm happy to report that laid off a single person. And in the midst of COVID, once we went into quarantine, we were able to transition both our scholars and our staff within 24 hours to online learning. So I would say one of the opportunities is that it has allowed, or COVID, Black Lives Matter political environment has allowed Uncommon to transition to make sure that we can reach our scholars no matter where they are, and really create these like innovative ideas of how to be more attuned to what's going on and bring that inside the classroom. And so again, Uncommon has never shied away from political issues. So we are always promoting like people registering to vote for our scholars to know what's going on in the climate. So we're continuing that. With our diversity, equity, and inclusion, we already had a department devoted to that pre-Black Lives Matter and this political climate that we're in. And so what we've done is just provided more funds and resources for that department to do what they need to do. So a couple of things, but again, not limiting ourselves to these things, is bringing in Promise 54, which is an organization that really reviews our curriculum and instruction to make sure that we're being culturally responsive, and making sure that our students feel heard and seen. We have increase the diversity and perspectives that we're bringing into the classroom. So making sure that our parents, faculty, and staff each have groups that they can speak with, to ensure that whatever practices or suggestions that they give, that our exec team hears about them and can implement different things. And then I would say for our summer teaching fellowship that is paid, which also allows us to increase our diversity numbers, because we hire juniors and then we will hire you for a full-time offer that waits for you upon graduation. And so we weren't able to do that in person, but we were still able to offer that fellowship to 138 fellows across the nation, virtually. And I'm excited to announce that 80% of those fellows have gotten full-time offers. And so really, again, creating more voices and perspectives into the classroom to ultimately make sure that our student voices are heard and they understand what's going on within America.
Great, thank you. I'm sure our audience loves to hear that, you know, about the jobs and not having to lay off anybody. And Tanisha, I saw you nod and saying, I'm going to call on you and let you go next, because I can see that you're chomping at the bit. So same question, what are those challenges and opportunities, top challenges, opportunities to inroads in this environment?
So I would definitely say a challenge that we have had in this environment is, especially since COVID hit, and most of the students that come through our program have a lot of them get paid internship opportunities. And so we typically partner with roughly about 200 companies, and typically these companies are again, across the US, in multiple industries, tech and non-tech. And then, of course, many of those internship opportunities were in person. And so one of the things that we had to do was figure out how can we still allow these students to have internship opportunities, even though many of them now face-to-face internship opportunity would not be possible because of COVID. So one of the things that we did is that we partnered with a company called Simba. They have a virtual internship platform. And so many of the companies that partnered with us, if they didn't already have a resource in place so that they could have interactive virtual internships, they were able to utilize that platform. The other thing that we did, because we are very heavily based on professional development and training of the young professionals that come through our program. So even if a student does not accept an internship opportunity that we have with one of our corporate partners, we still require them to participate in professional development training. We do workshops, things like that. And so being able to make sure that we continue to have those workshops and do them effectively virtually is something that we were able to do. All of the students who get internship opportunities or accept internship opportunities through En-ROADS is assigned a mentor or leadership coach. So another thing that we've done was just continue to make sure, typically the coaching is usually once a month. But because everything was 100% virtual and a lot of the mentors were not able to actually go and visit the students on site at some of their internship locations, we increased the coaching to a few times a month. So that we could make sure that students were handling their virtual environment better, giving them tips on, what's acceptable and professional, what's not acceptable and professional in that virtual environment as well. So a lot of things that we've had to really pivot to make sure that the student internship experience was still very worthwhile. And definitely educational and beneficial as it relates to their future career.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Thank you. And same question to you, Kanisha, at NGA. So how have you, what is it, these key challenges and opportunities that you have in this year?
So in light of COVID, as I mentioned a moment ago, we typically bring on board, and I think I misquoted because I said 3,500. That's not true. We normally bring on about 350 interns. And typically it's going to be about 100 that are returning and then 200 new interns. So after the offers for our summer 2020 internship went out, of course, COVID happened. So instead of bringing on the 200 new interns, we actually had to postpone them or push them out till next summer. So they'll actually be hopefully, preferably onboarding with us next summer. So this summer, we only had our returning interns on board. And the reason for that was because the returning interns had already been through the clearance process and already acquired their top secret clearances. And 200 new interns, we had not completed that process. So that's why we postponed them. So in light of that, everything, of course, as you know, went virtual. So we initiated or pivoted to our very first, what we called a VIP, which is our virtual internship program. It consisted of the entire 10-week normal, typical internship, but similar to what Tanisha was saying, a lot of it did have to do with professional development. So they had opportunities to meet with their mentors. They had opportunities to shadow not only in the areas that they were assigned, but other areas. They had opportunities to get together with their fellow interns, have chats, conversations, and at the end of the day, it did turn out to be a successful internship program. So that's for kind of how we pivoted in light of the interns. For our current employees at NGA, we have a number of what we refer to as our affinity groups. We refer to them as our special emphasis programs. So we have a Black Advisory Council, we have a Pride Council, we have a Persons with Disabilities, a Hispanic Association Council, the list goes on. So when everything started to happen, a number of those affinity groups kind of ramped up the things that they had already probably been working on. We were able to have conversations like fireside chats, so to speak, with the director, deputy director of our agency. They wanted to hear our perspectives, where we were coming from. A lot of the minority sort of step councils or affinity groups decided to collaborate to work on things. Basically, in essence, our leadership, our senior leadership, just allowed for employees to kind of speak their truth, share what experiences they may have had in the past, currently are having, and how it impacts them on a day-to-day basis. They've tried to initiate unconscious bias sorts of trainings. So every little bit helps, right? Change doesn't occur overnight, so it's still a work in progress. But I do feel like the agency has tried to have an open mind and hear out and listen to all of their employees.
Thank you for that. And I'm going to go to Catherine Williamson for the NC Health and Human Services. What are some of those top business challenges, opportunities that you're facing in this challenging year?
Of course, being in healthcare, COVID-19 has greatly impacted us in terms of recruiting healthcare professionals. One thing that did help us was the North Carolina Board of Nursing reinstated their graduate nurse program, which allowed us to hire nurses who had graduated before they were able to take the nursing exam. So that helped us a lot when that was implemented, but that was a challenge. And then it's also been challenging to keep our numbers of nurses and healthcare technicians and other clinical positions at a level to support the facilities. So that has been challenging, but it's something that we are working through and doing a lot of temporary hiring to assist the facilities that have additional needs due to COVID-19 absences and things such as that. And of course, another thing that has impacted us greatly is just the shortage of psychiatrists and physicians that are graduating every year and finishing. So that has been an impact to us. But one thing that I'm very proud of that DHHS as an agency has done has been around all the things happening in the nation right now with racism and Black Lives Matter. They have instituted a very, I think, a wonderful program where there's a safe space, and each of the divisions and facilities have designed the safe space concept with what meets that particular location's needs. But that has been really rewarding to see all of that come together and how it will all take place. One of the facilities that I've worked closely with has now implemented what they're calling conversation circles. Now they'll be bringing together, due to social distancing, initially it will be groups of 15 employees, and they'll have a facilitator and a co-facilitator, and just discuss various topics. I think that's sort of a very good beginning to start talking about things that need to change and to make those changes in the workplace. So I'm very proud of what the agency has done in that respect, and proud to be a part of it. There's also been an increased diversity and inclusion training opportunities that have been made available through our training platform. That has been also very well received by our employees. So that's something that I'm proud of as well.
Great, excellent, thank you. And finally, go to Toya from Uncommon Schools. Same question.
I answer first.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I had you written. Thank you for that. But Kathleen, you just gave a perfect segue into my next question, which was to talk about how does your organization recruit and retain a diverse workforce. So Toya, I will go back to you on that one. And so you all of you perfectly really answered the last question, because that was a great segue to that question. So dealing with, staying on the topic of diversity and inclusion, and what are how do you go about that recruitment and retention of diverse individuals?
Yeah, so I would say Uncommon operates on the mantra, you can't be who you can't see. And so 98% of our students are students of color, or as we describe, Black and Brown scholars. And so we're happy to report that 58% of our staff also represent Black and Brown staff members. And so the way that we want to increase those numbers to make sure that our students can see and they know that they can be who they see in the classroom and outside of the classroom are a couple of things. So first is that we do have a diversity, equity, and inclusion team, and it is central to our mission to making sure that all of our students get to and through college. That DEI team hosts professional developments at all functions of the organization. So in our home office, which is a collection of departments that support all of our school success, as well as on campus, they are mandatory and they happen once a month. And so essentially the way that I think about it is, when you go to a professional development and you're like, great, I took a couple of nuggets, I may implement it, but there's really no follow-up, right? Uncommon believes there should be follow-up, and so that's what we're doing to making sure that what you learn from the first semester is implemented, or what you learn for the first month is implemented in the next month, and they're building blocks instead of just like one-off professional developments. We ask our students as well as our staff to participate in courageous conversations. So when a student wants to talk about Black Lives Matter and what does it mean, or why has it come to fruition kind of all of a sudden for maybe a student's mind, even though in an adult mind, we know it's been around for a lot longer. We we don't shy away from that. So we ask our staff members as well as our teachers to engage in conversation with our scholars, and to provide them on grade level, but with details so that they can grapple with, what does that mean? What do I actually believe with the knowledge that's being served to me? We have our summer teaching fellowship, which hires 80% people of color, to making sure that we have a strong pipeline into our teaching and our instructional teachers. And then I will say that our DEI team also provides hands-on coaching. So even though we have those monthly conversations and professional developments, if a school, if a student, if a scholar needs anything around DEI work, our team will meet with them virtually, we'll meet with the parents virtually to assist all needs.
Wow, that's excellent. I love to hear the work that you're doing around, and you know, Catherine mentioned as well, these conversations, right? Creating a space to be able to educate people and talk about them in a safe place, because without that dialogue, as you mentioned, it kind of ends the conversation and nothing really changes, right? And so that's very impressive with what Uncommon Schools is doing. Tanisha, I'm gonna, call on you for that same question. What is, inroads, doing in that space when we talk about diversity recruitment and diversity retention of these people who are recruited?
Okay, I would be happy to answer that question. So it's very surreal that I'm being asked this question on today. So today, as some of you may know, is the 55th anniversary of the March on Washington. And 55 years ago, the founder of En-ROADS was actually at the March of Washington, and he was inspired to create En-ROADS based on hearing Dr. King's speech. So En-ROADS was created for a time such as this, even though a lot of the issues that were happening in the 60s are still happening right now in 2020. So as far as our recruitment strategy, we work a lot with colleges and universities. Of course, we work a lot with student organizations of whom cater towards underserved populations. So we work a lot with organizations like the Hispanic Student Organization, the Black Student Organization, NSBE, NABA, Alpha, fraternity, sorority. So any organization that touches the underserved populations, we work heavily with, so that we can make sure that we are engaging those populations as much as possible. In that, we work a lot with HBCUs, Hispanic serving institutions as well, so that we can make sure that we can engage with that student population also. So that's what we're doing from a recruitment perspective. And so some of the same information, like Toya was saying, our organization also reflects the population that we serve as well. So about 98% of the staff at En-ROADS is Black and Brown, and that reflects our candidate pool as much as well. We do have, in addition to, the Hispanic, Latinx population, Black population as well, we do have a large number of women within our internship program and applicant pool. In addition to, we do have a pretty good sized population of Asian students that happen to be a part of our talent pool as well. And so those are some of the things that we do. In addition to, once a student applies to En-ROADS, we make sure that they have a base level of professionalism. So we do resume workshops, interview prep workshops, because we want to make sure that these students, especially underserved populations, perform well. So we take the additional time to work with the students on the resumes, the STAR technique. So we want to make sure that they have a level playing field for a lot of these opportunities. So from a retention standpoint, We also, especially for the students of whom are interns, they're assigned a mentor, as I mentioned earlier, so they're able to have those conversations. So one of the interesting things about 2020 with the civil unrest and the murder of George Floyd is that in the height of all of that happening was right when the students were starting their internships. And so we were very conscious about having conversations with students. There were a few students who were on the fence as to whether, should I keep my internship opportunity and keep going? If I protest, what will be the repercussions if I protest? So having those conversations with students, making sure that we provide students with all the information so that they can make a good and conscious decision for themselves, and being able to provide a safe place to have those conversations as well. So I definitely think in any organization, especially if you're looking to retain underserved populations, whether it's Black and Brown students, women, Asian students, diversity can be financial reasons, whether you live in a rural area. So all of those things, access, so all of those things, you definitely want to make sure that having a mentor type of situation in place is good, and also employee resource groups as well is helpful to make sure that students are retained.
No, thank you. That's excellent. And Catherine, I'm going to jump to you next, and tell us the same question. What does NC Health and Human Services doing in that space of diversity recruitment and retention?
Yes, I'll be glad to answer that. And as I talked about, we do have a diversity and inclusion department now, and they are really putting out a lot of great professional development for all of our employees, which has been great. Just before I joined this meeting today, I read an email that Secretary Cohen has sent out to all the employees where she's adding another value to our list of values for DHHS. And the new value is belonging, which is very timely for the times that we're living in today. And I thought that was very meaningful that she made the announcement, and she referred to the reference to Dr. King in her email. And that was, I think, very timely to add that as one of our values for the agency. In terms of recruiting diversity, we of course use an applicant tracking system, and we have, that of course attracts a wide variety of applicants to our various positions. We also attend a number of historically Black college campuses in order to recruit at career fairs, and we attend professional conferences for recruiting as well. So I think a lot of things are being done to ensure that we recruit a diverse workforce for DHHS.
Thank you so much. And finally, we're going to jump to you, Kanisha. So at the NGA.
Yeah, so similar to all the other employers, we do have a diversity recruitment strategy, and that includes we recruit heavily at a number of HBCUs across the country. We recruit at HSIs, Hispanic serving institutions. We recruit at tribal colleges and universities, and also ANAPESIs, which I always forget what that acronym stands for, but it's Asian American and Native American Pacific Islander Serving Institutions. So we try to cover the whole gamut for all the MSIs, or minority serving institutions. Our internship, the selections that we extend for our interns, the intern population is definitely more diverse than our full-time population, our full-time employees. And so that's why we recruit the way that we do, because we're of course trying, because the intern served as our entry level, or like our pipeline for entry level employment. If we have our diversity numbers up in the internship population, that then means it will have a great impact on our full-time employees. with regards to retention for our interns, we have what's called a CAP program, and the acronym, I can't remember it at this moment, but it basically is a 2-year program and where our interns can complete a number of training, get like at least a minimum of successful performance evaluation, and they are promoted within the first 2 years. So for a student who's freshly out of undergrad or freshly out of graduate school, coming in within 2 years, they're more than likely guaranteed a promotion. So that's one of the tools that we use to try to retain employees. Also, those affinity groups, employee resource groups, like a number of the employers have already spoke of, those are definitely helpful in making folks feel like they belong or are part of the organization. Because when you have 14,000 employees, it's sometimes easy to get lost in the sauce. But if you're involved in like a number of our employee councils, our parent groups, or any of that, so those sorts of things, it just makes you feel that much more like you have a direct tie to the organization. So again, we're not where we want to be, but we're definitely trying to do what we can to retain as many folks as possible.
This is excellent, excellent. Good to hear. Thank you. And this again brings up a segue to another question that I saw pop up in the chat, which is one that we had as well. Let's have the audience know, really stand on recruitment. What are some of the typical, majors, if there are any typical majors that you recruit when you come on campus, or that tend to be attracted to your organizations, or ones that you want to reach out to that may not consider your organization a place for them because of they may just feel like, well, no, they don't want me because of my degree. And I'll start with you on this one, Toya. What are those typical college majors that you'd be looking for to work at oncoming schools?
Yeah, we think all majors have transferable skills that our students can learn from both inside the classroom and outside the classroom. So again, all majors are welcome to apply both to our teaching and instruction roles and to our school-based operation or our home office roles, so accounting, finance, talent development, things of that nature. I do also want to note, when people think about schools, you're only thinking about teachers, and you're like, oh, if I don't have that certification, I can't be a teacher. That's actually a myth. And so at Uncommon, you don't have to have any background in education, and you do not have to have your teaching certification in order to be hired with Uncommon. So again, Uncommon believes in transferable skills. And so we will hire you without that knowledge and then build that teacher toolkit or that staff toolkit that will allow you to grow and develop at Uncommon as well, or outside of Uncommon.
That is great. And you bring up something that I've talked with the other industries this week. The way, the students, they tend to look at sectors like the internet, software tech, banking and finance. They say, well, I'm not a techie, I'm not a investment banker, so I'm no need to apply. And so it's a huge problem because they self-select out, right? And as you correctly said, those organizations are bigger than just their primary revenue generating positions, right? So it's like, like we may be driven by tech, but we need finance, accounting, human resources, sales, and operations and logistics and data. I mean, you need every other position, project managers, that any number of degree majors can be prepared and trained to do. So thank you for reiterating that point.
Yeah, no problem. The way that I think about it, and I would say UNC Career Services definitely helped me out in thinking about this, because I was that student at UNC that was like, I'm majoring in political science. I want to go into law, but like that's all I wanted to do. But I found out that my passion was actually education by taking one of the education courses. And so I would say, whatever your passion is, whatever your major is can align with that passion. Whether like it doesn't have to be directly aligned. It can be that like triangular box that doesn't really fit all together, but you can make it fit. So that would be my only advice to you. It's like, think outside the box, or if you think about a school, think about everything that goes into a school functioning. It's not just teachers. There are other people that make sure the school functions as well.
No, thank you for that. That's excellent. And next, I'm going to jump to you, Catherine. So, same question. What are those majors that you typically look for?
Okay, I'll be glad to talk about that. Really a very wide variety. Of course, healthcare, registered nurses, physicians, psychologists, psychiatrists, but also clinical social workers, clinical dietitians, human resources, business office, accounting, facility type positions. There are just so many positions. There really could be something for anyone at one of our divisions or our facilities. For example, in divisions, we have the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation. We have the Division of Services for the Blind, Deaf, and Hard of Hearing. We also have public health is one of our divisions. And in public health, you could work with children, you could work with maternal health, uh, the medical examiner's office, epidemiology. So even the sciences such as biology, you may find a place that may be within the Division of Public Health. So it's just such a wide range of opportunities that we have available. And I think a lot of people don't really consider, they really don't even know what DHHS encompasses. So that's what we like to share when we go out to career fairs, all the different opportunities that are available. And human resources, they're just a wide variety of options that a graduate could consider.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And Kanisha, go to you next with NGA. What are some of those, typical majors that you're particularly looking for, and the ones that could potentially have a career within the NGA?
So on our internship announcement, we always say we recruit across all majors, all levels. So what that means is you can be an undergraduate student, graduate student, law student, you name it. Because we're not necessarily looking for a specific degree, we're looking for your skill set, your background, your knowledge, right? We look for folks that have that can not only say that they have critical thinking and analytical ability, but are able to demonstrate ways in which they have used those sorts of skills. So some of our former interns have had majors in environmental studies, history, global studies, linguistics, anthropology, poli-sci, economics, geography, liberal arts, engineering, you name it, economics, finance, because similar to what Roderick said and all the other employers said, yes, our agency, you hear the title geospatial intelligence, you immediately think STEM. And yes, STEM is one of the areas or backgrounds we definitely recruit for, but at the end of the day, we still need public affairs officers. We still need lawyers to work in our Office of General Counsel. We still need people who know how to write because we have a communications department, right? We have HR, an expansive HR department. So at the end of the day, please keep an open mind. And even if you think your current degree program does not align specifically to an organization, there's a place for you at every organization. So you just have to be mindful of that. Do your research on other departments or areas within that agency you're interested in applying to, and then try to figure out ways or examples of your work experience, your class projects, group assignments, ways in which you can utilize those examples to highlight or show how you could be an asset in a specific area or department at an organization you're interested in.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. And finally, Tanisha, I'm going to go to you for inroads. What are some of those typical majors that you look for that tend to, come to inroads?
So we recruit a wide variety of majors. Historically, we recruit a lot in business. So there's, the business, accounting, finance, marketing, public relations, retail management, international business. So, supply chain, that's definitely been a new hot major for a lot of opportunities. So a lot very business heavy. And HR, there's D&I opportunities as well. Social media marketing, also another opportunity that we've seen a lot. Also, in addition to that, there's a lot of opportunities that we recruit for that are very STEM heavy. So computer science, management information systems, IT, cybersecurity, artificial intelligence. So a lot of those majors, in addition to engineering. So we have quite a few engineering opportunities as well. So industrial engineering, civil engineering, lots of computer engineering, lots of mechanical engineering, electrical engineering as well. So most disciplines in that. However, we do have a lot of opportunities that may not necessarily fit into the box of corporate. So, you know, there some opportunities are some healthcare related. So we do have some biology, chemistry, environmental science, archaeology opportunities as well. So the net is very, very wide. In addition to, we do have a lot of opportunities in insurance as well. So a lot of those risk analysis types of opportunities as well that we have. So it's a lot. And then there's internship opportunities that we have where the opportunity isn't necessarily major centered. So as long as a student has the soft skills and the interest in the opportunity, then they're welcome to apply as well. But there's lots and lots and lots of opportunity. There's definitely a lot of opportunity for students who are early on in their college career. So, you know, for many of the opportunities that we have, you don't necessarily have to have a lot of experience. So that's why we recruit freshmen, we recruit sophomores and juniors, because sometimes students at that level of their college career and work experience don't necessarily have a lot of experience. So we welcome students to apply for sure.
All right, thank you, thank you. And I know that's welcome news to our audience. You know, one of the things what we're trying to do is really help students to look beyond, like you said, just their actual degree and major, and really think of their passion and interest and how they can utilize those you know academic learnings and other skills that you would gain being a college student. And this again, now we're going to another, you know, this question I just asked sets it up again for another question that really I think will help the audience. And I'm going to start again with you, Toya, on this one. You know, what are those just in demand, what I like to call it, in demand technical and people skills that are highly valued in uncommon schools? So, you know, this can be specific, you know, software packages or just technical skills, and then specific behavior skills, but or it can be general, but you know, something to where if you see it on a resume, you're like, wow, I'm impressed. What is that? What are you looking for in uncommon?
Yeah, so we do look at a lot of I look at a lot of resumes over our regional areas, New York, New Jersey, and Massachusetts, and we do pay for relocation. Just want to put that in there since I know some of y'all are coming from the great state of North Carolina. And so I would say, honestly, the first thing that comes to mind is your mindset. Like, we need people who want to get involved in social justice, who believe in that students of color can get to and through college. Like, that is a mindset that cannot be taught. And so that is really what we're looking for. Like, that needs to be entrenched in all of your answers and your will and your drive to get up every morning and work with our scholars. I would say once you have that mindset, and if you're like, yeah, that's me, what do I do next? Then I would say, I think this applies to not only Uncommon, but other people as well. Know the jargon that organization may speak. So for example, in this conversation, I've used culturally responsive education. We've talked about transferable skills. We've talked about leadership and passion. Like, what does leadership and passion mean in the state of education? What does leadership and passion mean in the state of nursing and marketing? They could be very different. And so knowing what that quote unquote industry jargon is would be amazing. And then incorporating that within your resume, reading the job description. So making sure that if those action verbs, you highlight them and those action verbs show up in your resume. I cannot stress that enough. It's actually one of the things that Career Services will teach you at UNC. I say definitely take that course. And then everything else, again, is transferable. So if you're working at South Point or if you're working on Franklin Street, whatever you're doing, think about how do you lead, how do you communicate, and how do you implement or analyze? And then again, whatever that item is, place it on your resume and make sure you provide detailed responses as to how you lead, communicate, analyze, or implement. So I know that's technically not the same response to your question, Roderick, but like, that is what Uncommon's all about, is that mindset and making sure those transferable skills are highlighted in both leadership, communication, implementation, and analyzation.
No, that's great. No, you just gave the blueprint. Hey, I think that was great. Catherine, I'm going to jump to you. The same question. What are those in demand technical and people skills that are really highly valued at the DHHS?
When I was thinking about this question, what came to mind for me was the values that the secretary has established for our department or our agency. And I just wanted to go over those because I think they really describe the type of person that we want to hire. The first is people focused. Focus on people we serve, deliver value, and make a positive impact on their lives and communities. Teamwork. We're all one department, one team, working toward one goal to improve the health, safety, and well-being of all North Carolinians. Proactive communication. Maintain an open and trusting environment for collaboration and continuous improvement with our team, stakeholders, and the people we serve. Transparency. Share expertise, information, and honest feedback within the department and with stakeholders in the community. Ask for help when needed. Stewardship. Be good stewards of resources and time to create a positive impact for those we serve. Joy. Have joy and balance at work so we all bring our A game when serving the people of North Carolina. And as I stated earlier, the value that has just been added today is belonging. And I think those things really represent the type of employee we want to hire and the things that we're looking for. We want someone who's going to be passionate about the work that they do and serving those who are in our communities where we live.
That is excellent. I love those values. I love the detail of what that means to your organization. I think a lot of times people forget that companies have these values. A lot of times you think, oh, they're just words on a website, on a page. But I've heard each of you speak to the importance of these values within your organization and how that's integrated, even in the way you talk and the way you talk about your recruitment and just what you look for. So I'm happy to hear that reinforcement. Kanisha, I'm going to go to you next. What are the same question, those in-demand, technical and behavior skills that are really highly valued at the NGA?
So I definitely have to chime in or piggyback, or we say foot stomp, a lot of the things that Toya said with regards to reading the vacancy announcement, right? There's so many tidbits and information that you could use or gain or pick up from the vacancy announcement. If it's the major duties, possible assignments, the background, like education, all those sorts of things are going to be highlighted in the vacancy announcement. Specifically, if you are more familiar with what the organization is looking for, you can then align or do a self-assessment, consider your background, what experience you've had, and align those to what's being asked of you in the vacancy announcement. So that was the first thing. Additionally, those action verbs that are sometimes listed in there, lift those, pull those. If you can take an action verb and again, use it with a current example that you have, that's always a good thing. Leadership is definitely very important for us. Communication skills are very important. We work a lot in teams. So you have to have the ability to be able to collaborate and provide evidence of ways in which you've collaborated in the past. Most of you are going to be students, right? If you're applying for our internship opportunity. So if you've had class or group presentations, if you're in student organizations, if you were president, vice president, treasurer, all those sorts of things. If you volunteered at your church, volunteered for Make-A-Wish, all of that is experience that you can use when you are applying for a job. Project management is also very important. And basically what that means is you were assigned a task, a deadline to complete it, and you did that, right? In essence, that's what project management is. So if you can identify or highlight several of those examples, that's also important. Technology-wise, of course, Tableau, Python, C, all of the engineering, artificial intelligence, those sorts of things, if you have experience using that, whether you were proactive and kind of self-taught or learned on the side, that's good. If you have experience using it in class, use those examples. Any foreign language skills, regional languages that you have, always highlight that. And then also I want to point out our core values. So again, geospatial intelligence, NGA, we're basically known as the eyes of the earth. So we refer to one of our taglines is know the earth. So our core values are actually made up of the word earth, right? So earth spells out excellence, accountability, respect, teamwork, and honesty. So if you can also try to embed any of those sorts of things, any opportunities or examples of excellence, any ways in which you've exhibited accountability, respect, teamwork, and honesty, if you can highlight those in your application as well, that's also going to give you the opportunity to go far.
Wow, I love that. I'm impressed, and we're right at time. So I'm going to give Tanisha a chance to answer the question as well once we go to the after party. I do just want to be mindful of the time that we did a lot today. For people that need to log off, that's fine. We're going to stay on about 15 more minutes with the panelists and go into some other questions that we didn't get a chance to answer today. But I do want to, while we have people on that may have to leave at 2 o'clock sharp. I just want to thank our panelists today for being available to spend time with us today to share this wonderful knowledge that they have, this insight on their organizations and as these industries as a whole, and how that can help you as students, career services professionals such as myself, staff, faculty, administrators, anyone who is a stakeholder in student success, right? And so either fellow recruiters as well who may be tuning in. So thank you again to the audience for attending. These webinars are recorded. Again, as I said, thank you to our panelists. And with that, we're going to officially close the formal part of the webinar, and we're going to now start our Zoom webinar after party. And so I'll move to Tanisha and give her an opportunity to answer that question. What are the in-demand technical and behavior skills that En-ROADS really values?
So I too look at a lot of resumes. Like my usually between probably August and November, maybe 3,500 resumes. I look at a lot of resumes. So one of the things, between career fairs and information sessions, things like that, it's a lot. So I don't know if students know the statistics, but when you go to a career fair, typically a recruiter will look at your resume anywhere between 3 to 5 seconds. And that's pretty much all you have. So with that, definitely make sure that you utilize career services and, maybe have a mentor, a professor, someone like that look at your resume. So one of the things that I look at when I'm assessing whether a candidate could potentially be a good fit for En-ROADS is that not only do I look at the academics, the GPA, your experience, I also look at your clubs and organizations as well. I think it's really important for a candidate to be well-rounded. So definitely on the academic side, as well as on your clubs and organizations side as well. Because En-ROADS is a nonprofit, and because we focus heavily on leadership development, professional development, and training, one of our core values is to make sure that we are looking out for the next generation behind us. And so I think your community service is a clear indicator that that could be something that's important to you. So I'm always looking at those types of things. Typically when when we place all of our students in internship opportunities, so typically on a given summer, it may be about 1,500 students. We partner with the Boys and Girls Club of America. And so we give the students an opportunity to lead that project. So during the summer, we allow them to put together a curriculum for the students in the program. And the curriculum, sometimes it may be based on how to prepare for college. So, something like that. So we allow them to be put in a situation where they are thinking of ways to engage the next generation coming behind them. So that's one of the things that we definitely look for in candidates. In addition to, as it was said earlier, for these different internship opportunities that students could potentially be matched for, it's important that they read the job description and assess what they want versus the job description to see if those two things are aligned. So we make sure that we have those conversations with students as well, because a big part of what we do in the En-ROADS program is prepare students for their career. And so we want to make sure that we're coaching and advising students in a way that we can help them to go in the direction that they're seeking in their careers. So in addition to other things that I look for on a resume when I'm looking for a potential candidate for En-ROADS, definitely having a section on your resume that outlines your technical and non-technical skills. So if you're well-versed in Excel or Google Suite, Microsoft Office Suite, or if you're a more technical major, SolidWorks, C++, you know, all of those things, make sure that you list that on your resume. Also, if you are a student of whom is bilingual or multilingual, make sure that you list that on your resume as well. It can set you apart from other potential candidates as well. So, you know, we definitely, my advice, again, if you take nothing else of what I've said today, as far as prepping for career fairs, virtual or in person, or if you're going to a networking event, things like that, definitely make sure that you have someone to proofread your resume, make sure that your resume is in proper format, because that is one of those, that's really your first impression with the potential employer. And so you want to make sure that it is a good one, and you want to make sure that that impression is lasting.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. And now this is one of my favorite questions, and I'm going to start off with you, Toya. Um, I want you to give the blueprint, the job search blueprint for a student that wants to work at Uncommon. What would you tell them to do to increase the likelihood that they would get an interview at Uncommon Schools?
Perfect. So one, I would say reach out to me, and I think this goes for any organization. If you have a touch point or you have somebody in that network, name drop. I know sometimes at UNC, it's like, oh, I know this person, I know that person. Utilize that in your job search as well. So feel free to connect with me. Ask all of your questions, the small ones, the really large ones, the tough ones, for at Uncommon before you apply, because again, we want to make sure that you're a good fit, and I don't want to waste your time, and I know you probably don't want to waste my time either. So connect with me, ask your questions. Once you have done that, I would say go online to our website and making sure that you know what our mission is, you know some of the activities we've done. So John Lewis says, talks about good trouble. One of the things that Uncommon just did was lead a march of educators to talk about the problems and injustices in Northeast education as it relates to like culturally responsive pedagogy and like microaggressions in the classroom and things of that nature. So like understand the company. Once you've done that, go online and do a quick online application for the role that you were interested in at uncommonschools.org/careers. Once you fill out the online application, myself or my colleagues will reach out to you depending on what region you apply for. After, if we feel like you're a good fit, the next step is a phone screen or video screen. And then after that, if we feel like you're a good fit, the final round is a virtual interview. Typically it happens in person, but we're not there yet. So it's going to be a virtual interview where if you're doing teaching and instruction, it's going to be a demo lesson that we will provide you a lesson 3 days before your interview, and you will demo a portion of that lesson and then get feedback, because Uncommon believes in getting better faster. So there's lots of feedback that you get both formally and informally. And then after you demo the lesson, then you will have a formal interview with the hiring manager or multiple managers, because again, we want to build community and team. So we want to make sure that you know who you would potentially be working with, and making sure that you can ask questions about their culture and environment, as well as they can ask you questions. If you're interested in school-based operations or those home office, those departments that support all 55 of our schools across the Northeast, then instead of demoing a lesson, you will get multiple tasks that role typically does throughout the day. So for example, in recruitment, you would do like a resume review, you would have to manage you would do a time and task management session, making sure that you know how to prioritize, and then we would focus on your email communication. So again, whatever those tasks are that you normally do within that role, you would get do those. You would debrief with the team about your responses to said roles or to said task, and then you're also going to have a formal interview with that team, either the hiring manager or the director, so who would be your manager, as well as who would be your colleagues. Again, Uncommon really does promote that community feel, and so we want you to know or get a sense of what community you would be entering in, no matter what role you're going for.
All right, great, thank you. And Catherine, I'm going to jump to you next. What is that blueprint? If you had to tell a student step by step, hey, this is what you need to do to get an interview or to increase the likelihood that you could get an interview, what would that be?
I think, of course, connecting with a recruiter such as myself is a great first start, because what I typically do, if I have a relationship that I've built with someone I've met at a career fair, then the individual applies for one of our positions, then I email the HR department and the recruiter at that particular location, whether it's a facility or a division, that one of the contacts that I've made has applied for the position. So to me, that gets the person in front of the facility or the division a little bit faster. The other thing that I would suggest would be to go online to our career website, which is governmentjobs.com/careers/North Carolina. And there you can search for Department of Health and Human Services positions. All of the state agencies are listed at that one site. So you would click on department, and then you could filter it by the department you were interested in. And then from there, you can also filter by job category, by location, and those are broken down by each of the counties in North Carolina that we serve, or where we have locations. So you can filter it a number of different ways. The other thing you can do is set up job alerts. And with the job alerts, if you say, I'm interested in a job as a clinical social worker, then every time a new social worker position is posted, you'll get an email alerting you that there's a new posting so you can apply. So that's very beneficial. And the biggest thing I think that individuals who apply need to do is to complete the application thoroughly. You can also attach a resume. However, when you apply to work for the state of North Carolina, you have to complete everything on the application document. So the resume is not going to be used as a supplement to your application. Everything has to be on that application document. And again, as someone else said, it goes back to the job posting. The job posting has two very important sections: the minimum education and experience required, and then another section, the knowledge, skills, abilities, and competencies that the person needs to have walking in the door on day one. So if you have those knowledge, skills, abilities, and competencies, make sure you incorporate those things that you have into your application when you list your job duties and responsibilities at your various employers. So that way you can demonstrate that you meet what's required for the job. So that's very important that that application be thoroughly completed. That's the document that is used to qualify an individual for the position. And then once an individual is selected, that's what's used to establish salary based on the information that's contained within that job application.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Thank you. And Kanisha, NGA, so you have to coach a student on, hey, this is what I'm behind the scenes. Nobody else gonna know this. This is what you need to do to make sure that you increase the likelihood that you get an interview at NGA.
So for NGA and all other intelligence community agencies, you're required to be able to obtain and maintain a top secret security clearance. So the first thing I would say is, if you are really interested in working in the intelligence community, you need to be able to prepare yourself so that if and when you are extended a job offer, that you can actually obtain that top secret security clearance. Things that are aligned with that clearance is that you are subject to random drug testing. You cannot have any serious financial issues. You can't have a gambling problem, psychological issues, so on and so forth. So that would be the first thing I would recommend is if you know for sure that you can't pass a drug test, there's no need for you to apply and waste our time or your time. So all that aside, the other thing would be to visit our website, learn a little bit more about the organization. Take a look at the internship opportunity, read the vacancy announcement in full, and then be able to see how your background, your knowledge, your skills, your abilities actually align with the information contained in the vacancy announcement. Because there is a background investigation that is lumped in with the application process, our application process could be anywhere from 6, 9 months. It just depends on the person. I have some friends, well, for full-time employees, it can be a long time, but for our interns, because all of them are coming in on the same start date, we have to expedite their clearances. But just know that you won't get a decision immediately. It takes time just because of the background investigation piece. Our agency is located in Springfield, Virginia, and we're also in St. Louis, Missouri, and Arnold, Missouri. So as interns or full-time employees, you get to select which location you'd like to work at, but those right now are the only places that we have availability. Last thing, once you are extended an interview, you're going to receive a link, and similar to the world we're living in now, which is all virtual, just be sure that when you are completing that virtual interview that you put your best foot forward. There's no like random things in the background, no noise. You look professional, you speak, enunciate your words. Use that as the opportunity to literally put or display yourself and show why you would be a really good candidate for the opportunity. So those would be my tips. If you are interested in working in the intelligence community, you know that there's a top secret security clearance involved. You need to start doing those things now to prepare yourself so that if and when you're extended an offer, you can accept.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you. And finally, Tanisha, you inroads. What's that blueprint that you give somebody? We're coming up on time, so 3 minutes or less, and then I'm gonna have to ask you guys the last question because we got to close the club down, to play the music to kick us out. So go ahead.
Sure. So the first thing that I would say is to complete the online application and make sure that you complete all of the steps of the online application. There is a portal that will let you know if you've missed a step in the application process to help you make sure that you have completed everything accordingly. We also ask that you complete your video interview and some of the same things that Kanisha said regarding the video interview. Make sure that there's no, that your background is clean and clear, that you're dressed professionally. So make sure that you are presenting your best professional you on camera. Also, make sure that you are checking your email weekly for updates. Once you apply to En-ROADS and you set up your profile, we will let you know if you are eligible for other internship opportunities within our network that you can apply for based on what you've communicated to us in the application process. So make sure that you check your email, and if you receive an email about an opportunity, make sure that you are responsive, because if you don't respond, we will assume that you're not interested and we will move on to the next candidate. You are more than welcome to reach out to me at any point in the application process. A lot of our communications say that you can email us at recruitment@enroads.org, which is fine. However, it may take a few days for you to get a response. I check my email all day, every day, 24/7. So I try to respond within 24 to 48 hours of receiving email. So if you have questions, feel free to reach out to me at any point in the application process. And then the last thing is check Handshake. We do post many of our internship opportunities on Handshake as well. So if you do not have a Handshake profile, I highly encourage you to set up one and set up your profile completely. And so that you can have access to those internship opportunities as well. And then the final thing I typically will extend to applicants as well. If you would like to connect with me on LinkedIn, I am more than willing to accept your connection as well. So feel free to do so also. And for any students or panelists who are on the call who want to connect with me, you're more than welcome to do that as well.
Great, thank you so much. Wow, I really hate to close down the party. I'm loving this. So, but this is the truly last question before we go today. And Toya, I'm going to start off with you again. Toya's just been she's been the lead off at base, but she's been getting this party started. Uh, but what do you want the audience to take away from today's webinar, Toya?
Yes, I don't mind getting the train started. This is the Soul Train line.
That's right.
I like do my little dance as I go out. No, I'm just playing.
That's
So I would say reflect on all of the information that all of the panelists have told you about. I think we all provided a lot of great information. So now it's just a time of trying to figure out what has resonated with you and how you can apply it. Second, I would say after you reflect, if it sparked some interest or one of us sparked an interest for you, reach out for an informational interview. One, to just get to know that person a little bit better, or somebody else in a different industry a little bit better. Because one, people love to talk about themselves, but then two, it also gives you an insight of how did they take their transferable skills and their undergraduate majors and actually apply it to the role that they currently hold, which will come to find out, and what I found out is that no one's actually majoring in what they're currently doing 9 times out of 10. And then last, I would say utilize career services. That's one thing that I felt like I didn't do when I was at UNC that I wish I would have done more, because the career services will go over your resume. Like one of the panelists said, they will check for grammar and edit it. They will also provide additional industries that may be aligned to your passions. And so again, just expanding your network and making sure that you rely on your network, and it is okay to ask for help or ask for suggestions from career services or from myself. So again, thank you so much for your time. Doing my little dance. Passing on to someone else.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you. We're gonna pass the mic to Catherine, DHSS, and take us on out, Catherine. What do you want the audience to take away from today's webinar?
The biggest thing I'd like them to take away is consider working for DHHS. Find something that you're passionate about, because if you find something you're passionate about doing every day, it's not work. It's something that brings you a lot of joy. I've been in HR my entire career in various capacities, and I'm truly passionate about what I do. And it makes it so much more rewarding when you are passionate about your career and you love going to work every day. And keep in mind that if you consider a career with DHHS, that it is truly a great place to work. And we'd love to have you come join us. And thank you so much for having us today. I've enjoyed being here, and I hope I've been able to share some information that will allow you to consider us as a potential employer when you finish school.
Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you.
Next, we're gonna go to NGA, go to Kenesha.
Okay. Again, thanks for the opportunity, Roderick. I appreciate it. And it was a pleasure meeting you all. So hope to work with you again soon. The one thing, or the few things that I would hope that students take with them from this afternoon session is to have an open mind. I think we all shared several different examples as to you may be in school right now with one sort of idea or tunnel vision of where you think you're gonna land, but just keep an open mind to know that everything that you're doing right now is going to prepare you for something bigger and better in the future. It may not be exactly what you thought, but nonetheless, you're still going to land where you're supposed to be. So that would be the one thing. Keep an open mind. All experience matters. Again, that goes back to some of the things we spoke about before. Student organization experience, any volunteer work, if you're a lifeguard working at your church, all of those experiences matter because they gave you experiences and opportunities to create the person that you are today. So don't think that they're not important enough to include on your resume. It's just a matter of how you can highlight those or word them to where they make you stand out. So all experience matters. And then lastly, and this goes in line with the keep an open mind, always be open to relocating, because you may have an awesome opportunity extended to you, and it just may not necessarily be in North Carolina or if you're from that area. So just be open and willing to possibly to relocate, because it may just be an opportunity that you get that may just change your whole life.
Thank you, Kanisha. And finally, Tanisha, so what do you want the audience to take away from today's webinar?
So a lot of my feedback is similar to the other panelists. Definitely be open to different types of opportunities. Don't let your major deter you from possibly considering different types of opportunities, even if it's something that you think it might be a little bit out of the box of what you initially thought that you would want to do. So definitely be open to that. Um, Also, as Kanisha mentioned, don't sell yourself short for different internship opportunities or projects that you worked on in your classes that are not necessarily seen as paid experience, but employers will look at that as experience. We've actually hired students for opportunities based on a project that they've worked on in the past that was not considered a paid internship. So definitely be mindful of making sure that you list those types of things on your resume, because it really can be very, very helpful. So don't forget to do that. Also, the other thing that I would say is to share this opportunity. So everything that you've heard today from all the other panelists and the different organizations, all of the nuggets of information that you've learned today, make sure that you share that with your counterparts, because too much is given, much is required. So definitely make sure that you share the wealth with your counterparts.
Wow, excellent. Well, I tell you, I am excited. I hope our audience really learned, gained some new perspectives on the education, government, nonprofit industry, and these companies that make up, that cluster of industries. Um, I'm looking forward to doing this again. I would love to have each of you on this again. We're going to have to do a part two, and we'll figure that out. We had to get the game together and come back and open up the club and shut it down again. So I see Toya likes that. There we go, Tanisha. So we're going to do this again. So I learned a lot, and I know our audience learned a lot. Thank you this is our last industry panel for this week of our industry meetup and networking panel series. So thank you for closing out a great week. And looking forward to keeping in touch with each of you. I know I see some of you virtually in terms of recruitment on campus, or just in what various engagement opportunities such as this, and looking forward, Catherine, you and I are working more closely together, and Tanisha, we're very happy to work with you, bringing you into some more initiatives as well. And Kanisha and I have already been working together, so I had a chance to meet her in person. And Toya's been integrated throughout the program. She's a NC graduate, so she's already already in there. So thank you again. I'm going to go ahead and formally close everything now, and I will send you a recording of this copy later on today. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, take care.